Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's dandelion lesson. It's a little late, but it's here and I'm really excited about it. I've been looking forward to it for a couple of days, and today is the perfect day, except that my neighbor next door has a whole group of friends over putting together, building like a tree house play area in their backyard for their kids, and which is awesome. It looks so cool, but unfortunately we might hear saws and drills and stuff, and hammers. But if you hear that, I'm sorry. I wish you could hear the orioles singing instead, because they are, and I'm looking at one right now. It's one of my favorite birds in the summer. So before we begin today's lesson, I just wanted to say I had such a magical time in Iowa, and it was really affirming to me about how special it is when we gather with people who have a similar passion, a shared passion. And that's sort of what we have here, right? I mean, we have this community, even though we're not sitting next to one another, we're still a community. And it got me thinking about perhaps having a retreat here where I live and inviting a couple of different instructors and maybe a paint maker or two to come here and do like a 3-day workshop here where I live, which is a really beautiful place, an inspiring place, and I have the perfect facility for it, with a historic inn right next to my studio, a beautiful teaching space there for many people, so it could be opened up to as many as 25 people. And I think I'm going to start working on that. So if you think you might have an interest in something like this, if you could leave me a message here and let me know what the interest would be. It would be nice to keep it just to dandelions, but I would probably open it up to the local area as well. I just don't know how much interest there would be in something like that, because it's an expense, and I would try to keep the cost down, but there would be costs. I mean, there just would be. There would be travel costs and lodging costs and food costs and all of those things. So I don't know, just let me know your interest on something like that. And I'm going to start looking into the possibility of it. And then I also just wanted to share one other thing. I got some lovely gifts from people while I was in Iowa. Really, really lovely. And some were paintings, and like this one by Tracy Edens, this dandelion seed on an intuitive painting that she did. I mean, it's so beautiful, right? And these from Michelle, Doxy Mama on Instagram. Very special. But I also received two other things, and I'll just start with the one from Michelle. I have to share it with y'all because it's just exquisite. It is a paint made by Margot, our dear Margot of Earth Mineral Arts, and it's called Pine Shade of Aphrodite. And when you open this beautiful tin, underneath is a statue of Aphrodite made with pine shade green watercolor. Is that not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? I don't know whether I want to use it or just keep it, like in her little shrine. I can't get over it, but Michelle, thank you again. I was overwhelmed by it. It's so beautiful. So I'm keeping it right here next to me with all my crystals and stuff. Yeah. And then I also received this in the mail from France, and I am a patron of a lovely artist named Marie Noelle Worm, W-U-R-M. And she, her Patreon is very different than mine. She's a totally different style of artist than I am. But I'm a patron because I just love to support her. I love what she's doing. I think she has a really nice way about things, and I enjoy it. She doesn't post very often. There might be one or two videos a month is how it seemed to be. but they're longer, and they're one like whole project. And she every now and then does a couple other things, but it's not quite the same as here's, where so I don't want you to expect that like constant content. In fact, many Patreons don't do constant content. They're more, you know, weekly or monthly kind of thing. But part of the reward for being her patron at $5 a month was she sent me this. And I think it's a one-time thing. And it is this beautiful print of a pen and ink drawing that is signed. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's signed on the front and the back. I love it so much. And then there's a beautiful bookmark that she made with some of her whimsical drawings. Her work is very whimsical. I love it. And then there was this little envelope. I don't know. I thought this was also sweet, with some stickers of her work and a beautiful note from her thanking me, and this gorgeous, gorgeous card. This is very indicative of her work. It's very dreamy and intuitive. And this is her name, Marie Noelle Verme, artist and illustrator. So you can search for her if you want to know more. And there's another example of her work. And then there was this tiny little coupon in an envelope with a code to get a discount from her Etsy shop. So I thought that was really lovely. Yeah, so it's just a one-time thing, and I just really appreciated it. I don't know. I thought I would share it. And in case you're looking for other people to be patrons of, I'm really enjoying it. It's very different than what we do here, and very wonderful. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you. And that is all. I also have some new paints to use today, and I wanted to share that as well. And these are a smaller version of Christina's plant pigments, her botanical paints. And the thing I'm most excited about is this color called Woad. And I wish I would have printed the story to read to you, but I wrote a fantasy story a long time ago. It's a short novel, I guess I would call it. And one of the things the main character she does is she's a healer, and she uses woad to mark, like they would mark on Ash Wednesday, the mark of protection on your forehead when you're traveling long distances. And woad is a blue pigment, like a blue-gray pigment that comes from plants. And when I saw that there was a woad in this, it just reminded me of my story. And so I feel like plant-based pigments, like botanical pigments, are like the herbs that I use to work magic, really. I feel like that's what they are. They're very special. So I'm excited to use these today in our project. And that's it. I'm going to go grab some fresh water and get a few other things. I have a couple books that I want to share, and then I will be back. Okay, I got some stuff. And I wanted to start with a reading from my Rumi book. And let's see here. It was yesterday's, May 10th, and it said, "Whatever you really see, a human being is essentially a spirit eye. Whatever you really see, you are that." And I don't even know if I need to explain it. I just think it's an interesting thing to think about. A human being is essentially a spirit eye. Whatever you really see, you are that. And I thought it was so appropriate for what we try to do, you know, with our seeing drawing and with our painting and with our intuitive work, and learning to really see things with the truth. So I liked that. I wanted to share that with you. And then the other one was from my Mark Nebo book, The Book of Awakening. And it was called The Edge of Center. All tempest has, like a navel, a hole in its middle, through which a gull can fly in silence. And it's 4th century Japanese anonymous. All tempest has, like a navel, a hole in its middle through which a gull can fly in silence. And he goes on to talk about how all wisdom traditions affirm this idea that there's always a calm in the center of the storm. And no matter what the storm is in our life, there is a way to find calm in the center of it. And it talks about how the gull will fly through the peaceful center during a storm, but it does not live there. The work, it seems, for us is to draw sustenance from that central eternal space without denying the experience of the storm. And our constant struggle is living in both sides of this paradox, for we cannot get to the center without going through the storm that surrounds it. Yet the storm of human experience can only be endured by knowing what the gull knows. The storm can only be survived from the center, and how we pass each other from storm to center and back, there you'll find the trials and gifts of love. And I really loved that, because we all go through storms in life. Sometimes it seems like they come one after the other. And, there's so many different kinds, right? There's so many different kinds of storms during a human life, even during the life of an animal or a creature. And I also read an amazing essay by Mary Oliver this week where she talks about a seagull that they found injured on their back patio and actually took it into their home, and it lost both of its feet. Its feet withered because they were broken, and this gull lived with them, and they gave it pleasure how they could. And the thing just persisted. It just would not give up, and eventually one day it died in their care. But even during this sad time in this gull's life, it found moments of joy with them. And the book is called Upstream. And if you have a chance to read the essay, it's called Bird. I highly recommend it. It was beautiful and very meaningful. So today, that's what I want to think about, is how we can find the calm spot in the eye of the storm, whatever that storm might be. And I really believe and know from personal experience that our creative practice can be that. And even with some very touching and personal conversations with a friend lately, who is definitely experiencing storms in her life, how making the realization that making time for self-care and for her creative practice is just a vital thing in her life. And it can be for all of us. It certainly has been for me and continues to be for me. Sometimes when I'm just so overwhelmed, all I want to do is sit down and open a box of beautiful paints and paint for 10 minutes. And it somehow lifts my spirits and gives me a sense of peace. And that's what these dandelion lessons are, And when we do that, we can bring ourselves that joy and sense of peace and calm. And then when we're done, we can sign it and write a note to someone and send it in the mail. And that's what I'm going to do today. So I'll invite you to do the same. And there's no plan for this dandelion lesson. It's not one that I thought out beforehand. It's just going to be an intuitive work using these beautiful new paints that I have from my dear friend Christina. And I'm going to wet them and put some lovely music on and just begin keeping in mind where that calm center of storms can be. Okay, so I also pulled out this little set from, gosh, I can't remember her name right now. Jeez. I honestly don't remember her name, but she makes these beautiful paints. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Maybe nope, she doesn't even have them on the box. Anyways, Caitlin French, that's who it is. Caitlin French on Instagram. She's French with 2 R's, I think, or 2 F's. So this is called New Moon, and New Moon is the darker one, and Full Moon is the lighter one, and I love them. So New Moon is around the outside for the darkness and maybe representing the storm. And I put Full Moon in the center to represent the calm. And I use the lighter colors in the center. And that's just how it came about. These paints are so delicate, and you could see the woad just sort of mixed into other things. It's just gorgeous. I love how the darker color threaded in and these colors threaded out. So that was my interpretation, and I hope you will try it too, and I hope you'll share it with us. And I also wanted to mention thank you for all of your responses to my question today about perhaps doing a mini series on color and pigments, and I think I'll begin that this coming week. I'll just use it as a watercolor techniques video, and we'll also have a new project coming up, and of course another dandelion lesson next week. I'm excited to do that because it's one thing I noticed in Iowa is that no matter how much experience we have as watercolorists, new or many years, color can be intimidating, and we often buy things sort of blindly without really knowing where they fit into our palette and how to use them best, what they're best used for, different properties that we should look for in paints when we make purchases. And I'll mostly be talking about traditional brand name paints, the traditional pigments that are out there, which I use all the time. They're a great complement to the handmade paints. And there are those of us who only use those. Some of us don't use handmade paints. So I'll be talking about both and how they work together. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for your responses. It made me even more excited. So anyways, thank you so much everyone for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I hope that tomorrow, if you are a mother of any kind, and there are many ways to be a mother, that you are celebrated and know that you are loved and appreciated, and sending blessings to all of you for that. So anyways, have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon. Thank you so much. Take care.